While every position is very important in rugby, number 9 and 10 have extra responsibilities. Not only are they playmakers whose game highlights every time, but they are also the ones who coordinate the whole team, both the forwards and backs. It is certainly not an easy task to pull out, so the scrum-half and fly-half work together to improve the team's performance. Throughout the years, there have been countless great number 9s and number 10s, but when it comes to duos, there are some that are worth being remembered. Let's take a look at rugby's top halfback pairing.
Carter gets it quickly, at least Kelleher does. Now a chance, Sorialo passes away beautifully for Dan Carter. Carter kick and chase, and Carter scores!
Justin Marshall and Dan Carter, New Zealand. Let's start by an iconic all-black pairing featuring historic number 10, one of the best ones to ever do it, Dan Carter, and one of the first scrum halves he played along with in the All Blacks, Justin Marshall. Apart from being an international pairing for New Zealand, they also played together at Crusaders until Marshall retired. While they only played together for a few years, they won a lot of matches and tournaments. For Crusaders, they won the Super 12 competition in 2005, in what was the last season of this tournament before being expanded. They also reached the final the previous 2 years in 2003 and 2004. Then, for their national team, they achieved a Grand Slam, defeating England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales in a tour in 2005, and won the Tri-Nations in 2003 and 2005. Marshall is the second scrum half with the most caps for the All Blacks with 81. Carter is towards the top of the overall list with 112. Matt Dawson and Johnny Wilkinson, England. Around the same time, England had a very effective halfback pairing as well, which took them all the way to winning the 2003 Rugby World Cup in a historical run. Matt Dawson and Johnny Wilkinson were in charge of keeping the English machine rumbling forward during that World Cup, especially during the final match against Australia in Sydney. Dawson was the one who threw the pass to Wilkinson, who kicked that famous drop goal to win the tournament in the last minute of extra time. That moment marked their partnership forever. Both of them became sports heroes in their country and ended their careers with 77 and 91 caps respectively. Joost van der Weisthuizen and Joel Stransky, South Africa. These two South African players are, without a doubt, part of their country's history, not just for their awesome careers, but for being part of a historic Springboks team. Van der Weisthuizen and Stransky were number 9 and 10 of the Springboks team that won the 1995 Rugby World Cup, their first ever. But most importantly, it was the country's first participation in the competition after being suspended due to the apartheid. Van der Weisthuizen in particular had a stellar career, playing 89 caps for South Africa and being inducted into the International Rugby Hall of Fame in 2007, and later on to the World Rugby Hall of Fame. Stransky, on the other hand, did not have a stunning career as Van der Weisthuizen, but he took a key role in that 1995 Rugby World Cup final, scoring all the points for the Springboks, including a game-winning drop goal. Nick Farr-Jones and Michael Lynagh, Australia. Let's now pass on to another halfback pairing that reached the pinnacle of the sport. To introduce these two, we're going back in time 4 years to the Australian halfback pairing that won the 1991 Rugby World Cup against England in Twickenham. Nick Farr-Jones at number 9 and Michael Lynagh at 10. These two took a key role in guiding the Wallabies to their first ever world title, accompanied by what some consider one of the best backlines ever, featuring names like Tim Horan, Jason Little, and David Campese, for example. Farr-Jones was the captain of that team and was a very physical player, while Lynagh was not only a great goal kicker, but also had the capacity to ignite the whole backline. Farr-Jones would end his career with 63 caps and would be inducted into the International Rugby Hall of Fame, as well as to the World Rugby Hall of Fame. Lynagh, on the other hand, would also be inducted into both selected groups of players, and would also finish his career as the scoring record holder for the Wallabies at the time with 911 points.
Fenekatau. They're full of running, the Brumbies. They are kicking like wild horses. Larkham, a little bit of a shuffle, gets outside, tough, puts the kick ahead. It could be play on. Larkham for the corner. He dives and scores. Larkham from fullback scores a great try. Stephen Larkham, 21 years old, does very well for his side.
George Gregan and Stephen Larkham, Australia. Let's remain in the Wallabies and talk about an even more iconic halfback pairing, the one composed by George Gregan at number 9 and Stephen Larkham at number 10. These two played together for a whopping 79 matches throughout their international careers with their national team, and also played more than 10 years of Super 14 rugby for the Brumbies. They certainly knew each other more than well. Gregan and Larkham were the commanders of the Australian team that won the 1999 Rugby World Cup. Both of them had over 100 caps for the Wallabies and were inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame. Gregan, by the way, is also the most capped Australian player ever, with 139 appearances. David Kirk and Grant Fox, New Zealand. If we go back in time to the first ever Rugby World Cup, we'll find out that it was New Zealand who won that tournament. Conducting that all-black squad were David Kirk and Grant Fox. Kirk was the captain of that team. Despite being capped only 17 times during his career, he's part of history being the captain of the first ever Rugby World Cup champions team. Fox, on the other hand, went on to have 46 caps and broke multiple records. For example, he holds the record for the most points scored in a single World Cup, with 126, and the most conversions in one tournament with 30, both in his 1987 campaign. Gareth Edwards and Barry John, Wales British and Irish Lions. The halfback pairing we're about to introduce is arguably the most historical of them all. For this, we'll have to throw it back to the 1960s. These are Gareth Edwards and Barry John. Gareth Edwards, described as one of the greatest players to ever do it in a Welsh jersey, and even considered by some to be one of the greatest of all time, had over 50 consecutive caps for Wales, 13 of them as captain. He was one of the first 15 players to be inducted into the International Rugby Hall of Fame in 1997. Barry John, on the other hand, won 25 caps for the Welsh team and 5 for the British and Irish Lions. He retired very young at the age of 27, being Wales's highest point scorer at the time. Together they formed one of the most famous halfback pairings in history. They formed a partnership during which they would commit to teams together. During this time, they played for Cardiff, Wales, the Barbarians, and the British and Irish Lions during the 1968 tour of South Africa. Alessandro Troncone and Diego Dominguez, Italy.
Takes it forward. Troncone, yes, little kick through, not a little kick, that's a big kick. And the referee's over as well. Play on, this could be Italy. A metre out, Troncone sends it to the right, goes himself, Alessandro Troncone, and Jonathan Catlin recovers as well to score.
Let's now switch to some great partnerships from some slightly weaker teams. One of the most successful halfback pairings for Italy's aspirations, of course, was the one that had Alessandro Troncone at 9 and Diego Dominguez at 10. Troncone is the 6th most capped player in Italy's history with 101 caps, and he was the very first one to gain 100 caps for his national team. He took a key role in Italy's first overseas victory over Scotland in Murrayfield during the 2007 Six Nations, winning the Man of the Match award for his try-scoring performance. Dominguez, on the other hand, was born in Argentina, where he played a couple of matches before spending the vast majority of his career in Italy, where he won 74 caps. He played 3 World Cups and was characterized for being a very accurate kicker. These two played alongside each other on more than 50 occasions. Agustin Pichot and Juan Martín Hernández, Argentina. Agustin Pichot at 9 and Juan Martín Hernández at 10 is arguably the best halfback pairing that Los Pumas has ever seen in their roster. Both incredibly talented players, they were part of Argentina's most important tournament at the 2007 World Cup, where they led the team to a 3rd-place finish in France. Pichot capped for Argentina 73 times and was vital for Los Pumas' incursion in the Rugby Championship alongside New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa. After his career, he took a role in World Rugby, where he remains to date. Hernandez capped only one more time, 74 in total, and was known as El Mago, the Magician, for his incredible playmaking abilities. Their performances have earned them spots in the prestigious Hall of Fame, an honor which they only share with 2 other Argentines, Hugo Porta and Felipe Contepomi. Faf de Klerk and Handré Pollard.
Might be bigger, stepping in a moment with a chance to take a shot at the poles. The 2 number 9s collide there. De Klerk doesn't know that play is dead, and it's like a couple of punchy little bulldogs going at it.
Just angry, isn't he, Faf de Klerk? He knows he's made the error, just wants to make up for it.
Last but not least, we have South Africa's actual halfback pairing of Faf de Klerk and Handré Pollard. De Klerk being one of the best scrum-halves in the world, a very agile and intelligent player, and Pollard being one of the best kickers in the world, with ice running through his veins. These two were in charge of conducting South Africa to victory in the 2019 Rugby World Cup, and at the time of writing this script, are about to attempt going for South Africa's record-breaking 4th Rugby World Cup title in 2023. Whether they manage to do it or not, they will certainly be part of South African rugby history, not only for their great individual performances, but for their achievements with the team. Apart from all the pairings mentioned, there are some recent and actual ones that might have the potential to make it to this list. Which ones do you think will be regarded as some of the best halfback pairings in the future?